Today I'm going to show you how to make an awesome ingredient for lots of different coffee cocktails from something that usually goes in the bin. It's called coffee SACCHARUM and it's made from these leftover espresso pucks. So let's have a look at it now. So coffee SACCHARUM is much like SACCHARUM in that it's using the process of extraction to pull the oils from the coffee, just like in an SACCHARUM, you'd pull the oils from citrus fruits using sugar. So to make your coffee SACCHARUM, which is going to be really big, bold, intense coffee flavors, we're going to be starting with our leftover espresso pucks. Different coffees will obviously bring different flavor characteristics, so be mindful of which coffee you use and how you pair that later on in the road. We're going to need golden caster sugar, leftover filter coffee or batch brew, or if you don't have any leftover, you can make it fresh and then use the grounds in our coffee SACCHARUM. And then a spirit of your choice, which you're going to pair up with the flavor profile of the coffee. Equipment-wise, we're going to need some kind of way to filter out all of the coffee grounds, so something like a clever dripper or a V60 or some kind of paper filter method. We're going to need something to pour it into, and then we'll need a bottle to bottle everything up. So to make the coffee SACCHARUM, the first thing we need to do is grab our scales. Then the best way to do this is in a big mixing bowl where you can add all of the ingredients. But so you can see what I'm doing, I'm going to do it in a smaller bowl, just like this one. Going to tear off the scales. Then we're going to add 200 grams of our espresso pucks. I'm just going to crumble them in, just to kind of break them up a little bit. So to 200 grams of our espresso pucks, which we've broken down a little bit, we're going to add 200 grams of golden caster sugar. So you can play around with different sugars, Demerara, Muscovado, just straight up caster sugar. I like golden caster sugar in this particular recipe because I'm going to be pairing it with rum. And the coffee in here has some kind of brown sugar notes, some kind of pineapple-y, cinnamony flavor profiles, which work really well with that golden caster sugar. So equal parts espresso pucks to the golden caster sugar. Going to move this over here. I'm just going to give this a good mix. And what you want to do is fully integrate that sugar into the coffee until it almost looks like it's kind of gone, which is strange, but you'll see why in a minute. And if there's any little bits, we're going to kind of WDT our bed a little bit using a fork, break up any clumps. And then you can see it's starting to really mix together. Any clumps like that we want to break up. And you can now see why a bigger bowl helps. So, SACCHARUM translates as oil, sugar, roughly speaking. And in a lot of cocktails, you'll find SACCHARUM. So to make SACCHARUM, you'd remove the skins and peels from citrus fruit, which can often be left over. Add this to sugar. And then by doing this and leaving it overnight, it extracts all of the oils from the citrus fruit peels and skins. And you get a really nice kind of oily, thick, sweet, acidic syrup, which can be used in lots of cocktails. So we're taking inspiration from that here, and we're going to pull out all of those oils left over in our espresso pucks. So you can see that's quite nicely mixed. And then what we're going to do, just cover this with a plate. And then you just wait. Leave it for probably a day is fine. And then when you've had a look at it, give it a little stir throughout that time as well. And what you'll be left with is this delicious looking kind of oily slurry that looks like the most delicious sticky toffee sauce you've ever seen in your life. And you probably want to dip your finger in it. I'm going to dip my finger in it. It's so tasty. However, it's kind of gritty because obviously it's ground coffee. So I'm just going to give that one last little mix together. It's got such a nice shine to it, it just makes you want to eat it. However, I'm going to mix this now. So in here we've got 200 grams of espresso pucks, 200 grams of golden caster sugar, or your sugar of choice. And then we're going to pour this into that mixing bowl, which you would have made it in the first place, to be honest. And now this is transferred, Gonna pop it on the scales once again and add 400 grams filter coffee or batch brew. So got all of the nice intense kind of full-on coffee flavor characteristic coming from the espresso pucks and the sugar which have extracted them. And then we've got the really nice more delicate notes, the well extracted filter coffee, and we're going to get a really intense full-on coffee forward liquid, which is perfect for coffee cocktails. So you could leave it here and it makes a really delicious coffee concentrate once it's strained. But what I'm going to do is add a little bit of booze to this, just to give it a little bit of a better shelf life, and you can also complement the flavor characteristics of the coffee. So this particular coffee, like I say, has those kind of pineapple cinnamon notes. I'm going to add a rum to this, which works really nicely. 200 mils or 200 grams. But play around. Whatever spirit you really like or you think will work really well with the coffee, pop it in there, see how it tastes. I bet it's going to taste pretty good. So now I want to give this one final mix together. So now that's all mixed together, we've got 200 grams of espresso pucks, 200 grams of golden castor sugar, 400 grams of filter coffee or batch brew, and 200 grams of your spirit of choice. We're going to pour this through a paper filter. So I'm going to go with the Clever Dripper, which is the biggest brewer I've got. And I'll need to do this in a couple of passes to make sure I can get it all through. Pop this on some kind of vessel. And you want to be very careful as you pour this through the paper filter. This takes quite a long time, so patience is of the essence. Probably leave it overnight and in the morning you might have it. And then when you've done that, you'll be left with the most incredible coffee SACCHARUM. So this is your coffee SACCHARUM. And the real value of this ingredient, as well as being something delicious to sip, which I'm going to do in a minute, is that it has that big coffee flavor, which really is powerful in coffee cocktails. And it's very convenient. You can keep this in the fridge for at least a few weeks, and it's just a really, really versatile ingredient. So on its own, it's also really delicious. It does have an element of sweetness, of course, because you need that sugar in there to pull out those oils from the espresso. But because we've got filter coffee, which is extracted optimally, and then we've pulled out more from the coffee pucks, which are also extracted really well, then with further flavor brought from them, I think you get a real intensity of flavor that you perhaps wouldn't get with a more traditional coffee liqueur. You can also choose the coffee you put in there, choose the rum or the different spirit you want to put in there, and the sugar. So you can really tailor your coffee SACCHARUM for the coffee cocktails you're making. So there we have it, coffee SACCHARUM, a very versatile ingredient. It's pretty delicious to sip on its own. So I'll link some more videos at the end where I've used this in different recipes. But for now, have a good week. Please subscribe below, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Cheers.